Hi, fellow artists. I'm Deandra, and I welcome you to my studio nestled in the Shango Mountains in Sullivan County. I understand from Ms. Castro that you want to do an abstract expressionist painting of the circulatory system. This is very exciting to me, especially since abstract expressionist painting is what I love to do. So I'd like to offer some suggestions as to how your painting can be done. Please keep in mind that I'm only offering my concept of how to approach that painting. Any ideas you come up with are just as valid as mine, and the end work should be an expression of you, just as mine will be of me. Before we get into technique, I'd like to give you an idea of what I consider abstract expressionism. Abstract painting, as I'm sure you know, differs from realism by offering a different vision of what we see with our eyes, by showing an artist's interpretation of it. Expressionism goes one step further by opening up the painting to our emotions. Also, while realism and abstraction are usually painted with traditional artist tools like brushes and palette knives, abstract expressionism adds to our paint kit whatever tools come to mind. This could be anything from using brushes, our hands and fingers, squirting paint directly out of the tube, tossing paint out of a cup, at the painting, to anything else that you can imagine. On a more philosophical level, I only want to add that I'm pretty sure you know that the world, in fact, the whole universe, is a very chaotic place. Realistic art, along with math and science, try to make sense of the chaos. I prefer to use my paintings to depict the chaos. But keep in mind, there's no better or worse among the painting styles, only differences. And variety is the spice of life, isn't it? So anyway, enough of that. Let's get painting. We'll start by building a base for our canvas. We're going to use a cardboard box, and what I've done is opened one up. We can see we got some problems here. So we're just going to fix that with some paper tape. Make sure it's something that will hold the paint. Plastic tapes, the tape will just, or the paint will just curl up on it. So we're going to use the paper tape, wet it down to get the tape good and wet. Fold it over on the back. And we have our canvas. You can run strips along the folds if you want to, try to even them up, but that's up to you. So we're going to put that aside for now. And while that's drying, we're going to do a cutout. I'm using plastic. You can use paper, but it's going to be a cutout of the human body. So we'll do a drawing of the body. And then we'll cut it out. You can see that I got a head start on this. So we should end up with two pieces, a cutout and the body itself. We're going to need both pieces, so keep them safe. Okay, we'll put those aside. And we'll check our canvas. I have one that I did yesterday, so I know that's dry. We're going to give it a base coat. And it can be any light color that you want. I'm going to start with white, and I'm going to use gesso. You can use house paint, pretty much anything you've got, as long as it's not too glossy, because we don't want the water-based paints that we're going to use a little bit later to ball up on it. So we'll give this a nice coat of paint. This is all that's going to be behind our circulatory system, the only color. So we can make it a little more interesting. By adding a little green to it. Maybe a little yellow. Just to give it a little bit of interest. Okay. Give me just a second to get my brush and some water. This has been my gesso brush for about 50 years now, so I do want to take care of it. So, once our background is dry, we're going to take our outside stencil and we're going to lay it on it. And with bits of paint, or bits of blue tape, we'll just stick down the high spots. Try not to get too much of the tape on the painting itself. So anyway, you get the idea. So again, I did this earlier. This is my prepared canvas. I just used some paper, oops, paper clips to hold the corners. And I ran some tape here and there so the floppy parts stay down. And I think we're ready to go. So take a look at it, the circulatory system. I have a copy here that I am going to refer to briefly. Okay. We'll start with our tubes of paint. And let's give us a left ventricle right about there. Okay. We'll give us a right ventricle right about there. Good. Now, we need some arteries. So, starting here, we'll go down one leg. And the other leg. One arm. The other arm. Up through the head. Oh, you get the idea. Do the same for some veins. Whoops, that's going to be a bleeder. So we got some veins and we got some arteries. We're going to need some capillaries. So what you can use is, I use acrylics. You can use poster paint, whatever you want, whatever you have. Again, in red and blue. Work it, thin it down to a consistency so that if you splatter it with your fingers, you come up with thin lines, something like that. Okay? So we'll dip our fingers in that and let's give it a splatter. So these are the capillaries. You want to concentrate it maybe a little bit in the heart, or the lungs rather, and just down the legs. Don't forget the feet. Brain 2. Just wipe that off real quick. Let's give them some blue capillaries. Don't worry about getting it into your plastic around there. That's too. Allow us to remove that paint easily. So let's give it a couple of layers. Again, I want to concentrate a little bit more on the heart. A little more blue. Just keep alternating until you come up with what looks good to you. All right. So I'm happy with that. I don't know if you can really see it well enough to agree or not, but we're going to let that dry. And once it's dry, we're going to take the plastic off and we're going to tape over the cutout over our body. And we're going to give it a background that hopefully will give it a little bit better definition so we can tell that it's a body with the circulatory system in it. So I'm going to sign off for the moment and we'll be back in the next video once this is dry and I can move on. See you in a little bit.